Okay, so good morning everyone. This is our first session on switchgear and protection course in the seventh semester electrical engineering. I welcome you all to this course, and I'm Nishant Kothari, a senior assistant professor in electrical engineering department. And we are going to discuss that what is the importance, rationale of the subject, what are the content of the subjects, reference books, course outcomes, and online courses that are available on NPTEL MOOC platform, and some of the part which is not your in your syllabus, but still it is important for you to understand. So that is what is contained beyond syllabus. Uh, these are the topics of discussion in our presentation. Teaching scheme here, you will have a 4 sessions per week and two hours laboratory sessions per week. External examination 70, internal component 30, and practical viva 30 mark, and term work is of 20 marks. So total 150 mark of the subject. Its credit is 6. A very important subject as far as the industry and power system engineering is concerned. Prerequisite power system 1 and 2. You must be knowing the concepts that you have studied in power system 1 and 2. Basically, uh, the concepts that are related to fault analysis. And let's say in interconnected system, power system, you have studied about the stability and all that. So, what is rationale of the subject? You know that you have studied various machines like generator, transformers, induction motors. Okay. And in power system, you have studied about the transmission lines and distribution lines and their operations and performance. So now it is time to look at it in a different way. Till now, you have studied about the machines like their operations, characteristics, testings, and everything. But what if any fault occur in a particular part of the system, power system? Okay. So I hope you have studied the fault analysis, symmetrical fault analysis and unsymmetrical fault analysis. Yes or no? Uh, just a minute. You can unmute and you can speak. Anyone can tell me what you have studied in symmetrical fault analysis? Anyone from you? Quickly. Or what do you mean by a symmetrical fault and an unsymmetrical fault? So that I can have idea about what to cover. Yes, anyone? You can unmute and you can speak. Anyone from the class. What do you mean by a symmetrical fault and what do you mean by an unsymmetrical? Yes, quickly. Okay, Viral. You can unmute and you can speak. It will be better to discuss. Okay. Yes, Viral, you can speak, please. And what do you mean by unsymmetrical fault then? Okay. Anything else? Okay, Viral. Good. So, can you explain the basic difference between symmetrical and unsymmetrical fault? Viral, your answer is correct. Mendan, not exactly correct, partly correct, I can say. What is basic difference between a symmetrical fault and unsymmetrical fault? We will going to cover this, but just to have an idea from your end, if you can tell me. Anyone else? See, it must be an interactive session. Okay, Niti. Okay, Naresh. I want just basic difference between the two. What is the basic difference between a symmetrical fault and unsymmetrical fault? Basic difference. Yes. Okay, let me know, Maimdan. Let me give you a hint uh, for this. Have you studied symmetrical component theory? Okay, Viral, very good. No, Maimdan, answer is not correct. Viral, your answer is absolutely correct. Have you studied symmetrical component theory? Yes, Watson, your answer is correct. Have you studied symmetrical component theory? Symmetrical component theory to symmetrical fault analysis. Symmetrical component theory, I think you remember. Positive, negative, zero sequence component you derive from phase quantities ABC, IA1, IA2, IA0. Then you derive using some set of equations from IA, IB, IC. That is what I am talking about, symmetrical component theory. Do we apply symmetrical component theory to symmetrical fault? Yes or no? No, correct, Niti. Very good. Do we apply it to correct, Apurv? Your answer is correct. Then why it is not required to apply symmetrical component theory to symmetrical fault analysis, triple line fault analysis? Why it is not required? Anyone? Your answer is correct, Nidhi. If you can tell me the reason that why it is not required to apply symmetrical component theory to symmetrical faults, and why it is only applied to unsymmetrical fault analysis. Okay. Anyone? Okay, keep this point in mind. We will discuss later in the session that why we apply symmetrical component theory to only unsymmetrical faults. Why there is no need for symmetrical faults. So that is what you have studied in PS2, power system 2, and that is why it is prerequisite. It is very important to understand about symmetrical fault and unsymmetrical fault. Okay. So what will happen in any component part of the system, in distribution line or anywhere in motors, generators, there is a chance, always risk of a fault. Now you have studied fault, so we will discuss it later on. So when fault occur, what should be done? That the part of the power system in which fault has occurred, that part of the power system must be disconnected from the rest of the system, healthy system. Okay. So to maintain the stability of entire power system, you also studied the stability. Okay, it is the ability of power system to regain the synchronism once it is being subjected to any disturbance. So here we must ensure that whenever fault occur in the power system, we must first identify that in which part of the power system fault has occurred. Then we must isolate the faulty section by the combination of circuit breaker and relays, so that the healthy part of the power system does not get affected due to fault. And it is mainly because of the safety concern. Okay, safety of equipment, safety of human being, personal, operating that system, and entire power system, we can say. So why you must study this subject is that uh, you must develop skills for operating various controls and switch gears in the power system. You must be able to carry out the analysis about the faults and abnormalities in the machines and equipment in power system. And It is a must course for almost, it is a core course for almost for all electrical engineers. Okay. So with this, I will start the introduction to how the course will be handled, and I hope the rationale is clear that in see if we think that why we cannot design a system where fault cannot occur, but it is just like as uh, very similar that we can design something so that we never become ill. Is it possible to have such situation in nature, in human being, in animals, and everywhere? Is it possible to have a life where there is no illness? You take almost all the precautions. You take all medicines or everything, whatever it requires, food, nutrition, everything. Okay, so that there will be no illness. Is it possible? Yes, correct, Nimdan. It is not possible. You can, yes, you can minimize the risk of being ill by taking proper precautions and your lifestyle and your food and everything. But it is inevitable. You cannot avoid it. Just like in the machines, same thing. Whatever precautions, care you take in designing the machine, in operating the machines, and in controlling the machines and power system, everything, fault can occur, and it is not avoidable. Probably, if you design a very good system, it may take long time to have a fault in it after some number of years of the operation, but it will be there. Okay, after all the precautions, maintenance, operation, design, and everything, fault will be there. And that is why the protection part comes into the picture, that whenever it happens, even once in a year, once in a 5 year, once in a 10 year, but this fault will be so dangerous that it can have severe effect on the equipment or human being. And that is why safety is the main concern, and that is why we want to protect the system against the hazardous effect of the fault. Fine. And that is why this subject is very important. So you should also be good with the machines, because ultimately when we are going to discuss about the generator or transformer, you must be knowing how the machines are designed, what is their operation, and all that. Okay. Now this is the syllabus of the course. Unit 1 is the fundamental of power system protection. So it will have the basic terminologies and the fundamentals, why we need to have a protection system, and when we design the protection system, what should be the desirable quantity of any protective scheme when you design, how the tripping of circuit breaker can be done by using relays, and then there are different types of the relays. Okay, same relay cannot be used for all the types of fault. Just like as let's say if we have a fever, and there may be different types of fever. Let's say malaria. Okay, maybe COVID, maybe let's say chikungunya, anything. So same set of medicines can be used for all the type of fever. Let's say if you have only simple uh, flu, for example, can you use the same set of medicines for all type of fever, or do you require different medicines? Yes. Can you take the same medicine for different types of fever, different as per requirement? Correct. And that is how here we require different relay for different types of faults in a very similar way. Okay. See, in power system protection, you will find it that it is very similar to the medical field, but it is a kind of a doctrine in engineering, we can say, that we will see that how the fault will occur, just like as what is the cause of illness. Then we conduct the effect of the fault. We observe the effect of the fault on the system, just like as the diagnosis we carry out in medical field. And then what are the characteristics of different faults, and then how what should be the design of relay for that fault, that we will see, just like as the post diagnosis we carry out and we decide the medicine for any illness. It is kind of same thing here. Okay, so then there are different types of relay that we will study in this unit. So this unit is comprises of very basic fundamentals, terminologies, and the different types of relays. Once the relays are discussed in this unit, then we start applying the relays, using the relays for protection of different components of the power system. So the next unit will be the overcurrent protection of transmission line. Then in this we will study that what are the different types of faults in transmission line, and how the relays, overcurrent relays, it is a type of relay we will study later on, are used to protect the lines, and how the relays are coordinated and settings are done so that it can accurately decide the type of fault and operate for a particular. Then next unit is called as the distance protection of transmission lines. So transmission lines have different types of protections depending upon their ratings. Okay, from distribution and distribution line starting from 11 kV to 400 or 765 kV, which is a maximum transmission level voltage level in India currently. So different voltage ratings of the lines are protected by different types of relays. So mainly there are two protections that we discuss for transmission line, are called as the overcurrent and distance protection, where the different set of relays are used for the protection of the lines, and we will see the reasons for this also. Then apparatus protection. In apparatus protection, transformer protection, bus bar protection, generator protection, and induction motor protection. So you can see that these three are the machines. So that is why I have said that your concept of the electrical machines also need to be very good, because how the fault occurs, so you must be know the design and operation of the system of the machines, and this three will be based on this. Bus bar protection is also very important in the substation. It is in the substation, and the different set of relays can be used for this also. Then this unit is about the transducers. Okay, it is called as the CT and PT, current transformer and potential transformer. Why we use CT and PT will be discussed. These are the called as the instrument transformers. These devices are used to give input to the relays, and that is why their operation and design is very important to understand, because as a protection engineer, CTPT also are the part of a protective scheme. Okay, and then comes the circuit breaker. So it is a part of switch gear, you can say, where you will study different terminologies about the circuit breaker and their operations and different types of circuit breakers. Okay, and finally the last unit is about the latest trends in the power system protection. That will be the last part when you study unit number 1 to 9, and when you have the basic fundamental knowledge and operation of the protective scheme, then in the end you will study about the what are the latest trends and terminologies about the protective relay. So there are total 10 units, and these are the 3 reference books we will study. Remember, this course is a course like that. You cannot have only one single book for all the topics. So these are the 3 books that we are going to refer for this course, and which will cover different units particularly. Okay, if you want to purchase, you can purchase this book. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Course outcome of the subject. So what is course outcome? Is once you will complete this course, so you will be able to perform all this. This is the uh, we can say knowledge, skills that you will acquire once you will complete the course, once you will study the course. So there are 4 course outcomes. Those are the once you complete the course, you will be able to acquire the knowledge of various abnormal conditions that can occur in electrical system and the protective relays. Then you will be able to gain the knowledge of various conventional relay, their design and the latest. You will be able to understand and design the protective scheme for different power system components, equipments, and you will be able to know about the various types of instrument transformers, breakers, and their design and operation. Okay, which are here related with the Bloom's taxonomy level. So it is the learning level, starting from remembering to the evaluate. Remember, understand, apply, analyze, and evaluate. There are 5 levels of the uh, remember is same as the knowledge. So this course outcomes are being mapped with the Bloom's taxonomy level. Create is the highest level, level number 6, we can say, and their percentage weightage. Yes, okay. These are the some of the online courses available for this course, and recently started previous year. In the previous year, these 2 courses have started, and all the students must join this online course on power system protection and switch gear, which is by Professor Pankaj Kumar Palcha, IIT Roorkee. In previous year also, we have joined this courses students, and the assignments given are very important. Okay, the assignments given in this course shall be considered for your assignment as a term or component also. So make sure that whenever this course will start, it will commence on NPTEL, you must join this course. The registration is free, but suppose if you want to have a certificate for this course, then there will be examinations once the course is finished. And I think there is some nominal fee that you should pay, and there will be end of the course exam for which you have to appear. And if you clear the exam by certain percentage, you will receive the certificate from NPTEL and IIT that you have cleared this course. Okay, which is a very reputed certificate, you can say, and that can add some weightage to your CV. That if you have cleared the course from NPTEL, you are as good as you can say a very good engineer, you can consider, or a student at par of any IIT for the given course. Okay. There is also one training course from Tata Steel e-learning platform on power system protection. If you are interested, you can also join this. Now, last part of this. So, content beyond syllabus. Once we will complete about the protection of transmission lines, we will see one real-time case study, that is impact analysis of distance protection maloperation on power system grid operation of India, which is a blackout study of 2012. In India, there were 2 consecutive days when a major blackout had happened, and which had affected 21 states and 3 union territories at that time. Okay, and which is considered as the one of the major blackout in the history of the power system across the globe, we can say, not only in India. So we will see that how, if the relays are not operated properly, how it can result into blackout, and uh, which can how it can affect the operation or the as a nation. Any misoperation or maloperation, it is considered as of any distance relay. Okay, so that will be the content beyond syllabus. About the course, I will conduct unit number 1, unit number 2, unit number 3, This part of the course will be conducted by myself, unit number 4 and unit number 6. This unit number 5, 7 and 8, 9, 10 will be covered by Professor Chignes Koladia. And I think sir will start with this unit, current and voltage transformer, in his first session. Okay. So any doubt about this course and our teaching scheme and our the assessment? Okay, fine. So then let us start with the subject. We have a time, almost still some time is there. So there are few students who have joined late. Let me again repeat. Uh, Akash, Akshar, Pradeep, Rajesh, Ravi, Sanjay and Umang. Set your username as enrollment number and name, please. Okay, Akshar, Pradeep, Rajesh, Ravi, Sanjay and Umang. Set your username as enrollment number and name, and always join the session with this username. Akshar, Ravi, Sanjay, Umang, Pradeep and Rajesh. Okay, so you change your username like this. You can change it right now. I have enabled it to change your username. Fine. Okay, so let us start the unit number 1. It is a very lengthy syllabus. Let me tell you, this course is having number of units and each unit having number of theories. So it is a very lengthy course, and you must prepare the course from the start. Okay, it is about unit number 1, fundamental of power system protection, which addresses the course outcome number 1. Once you will complete this unit, you will be able to acquire the knowledge of various abnormal conditions and uh, that occur in protective system, and you will be able to acquire the knowledge of various protective relays. Okay, the course code is 3170908, and this is the book that I will be talking the topics and the concepts from unit number 1. So it is from power system protection and switch gear by Oza sir, sir, Mehta sir and Makwana. We will start with the interconnection or the interconnected operation of the power system. Can anyone tell me what the need of interconnection of power system? Can't we operate it as an isolated power system operating in different regions? Have you studied ICPS, interconnected power system? I think it was there in 6th semester. Okay, good. Apurv, your answer is correct. Anyone else? Viral, very good. Correct. So I have two different answers. Both are correct. Okay, Mahimdan, good. Your point is also correct. Very good, Milan. So we have 4 different points from Apurv, Viral, Mahimdan, Milan. Naresh, very good, Naresh. Very good. Jatin, good. So fair amount of responses I have received, and all are I can say different and good. Correct. Very good. I appreciate your interaction in this session. So very good. So let me highlight the points. Apurv has said to manage the supply and demand. Very good, Apurv. See, let me explain the reason. Suppose if we operate in our power system in isolated mode, then what will happen? That in some of the area, there may be more demand and less supply. or maybe opposite the case. So this is how it will be difficult to operate in isolated mode when things happens. Let's say if you think that right now, let us design an isolated power system where load and generation are balanced, then there will be no problem. But over a period of time, let's say after 5 years, with the increase in let's say industrialization and everything, let's say uh, uh, there is an expansion of a city. For example, if you look at the Rajkot city, so those who are staying here in Rajkot, they may feel that before 10 years, in 2000, let's say 10 or 11, the spread of the city, the area of the city, if you compare it with 2021 right now, so you will find that the city has expanded in a large way, and proportionately the load will also increase. And therefore, it is difficult. Say, let's say if you have a power plant, you have installed it right now, considering the existing capacity. But in the future, if the load is increased, then it is very difficult in an isolated power system mode to cater this load. Okay. So yes, first is correct, Apur. Viral has said that uninterrupted power supply, very good. If we have an interconnected power system, and if some of the power part of the power system that goes out of service due to fault or any reason, maintenance for any reason, okay. So if it is an interconnection, we can get the power from the other route if it is interconnected, okay. And that is one of the advantage of interconnected power system. Very good. Mahimdan has said that it will increase the efficiency of the plants. Very good. Obviously, when the generating stations are interconnected, we can operate power system in the most economical way. We can decide that which generator have the less generating cost, which generators have the higher generating cost, and accordingly, the load and generation can be balanced by considering the lower generating cost generators at priority, and that is what we call as the economic dispatch. I think you must have studied one of the unit in ICPS about the incremental cost of the generation and so on. So that is also a valid point when done. Then Naresh has explained that generators are connected in the grid. So if the generators are overloaded, the load can be transferred on the other generators, and very good. So this is what can also be a part of, let's say, uh, we can say economical operation, optimal operation of the generation, optimal load flow operation of the generators, or the power system, we can say. So that is correct. Jatin, your answer is also correct, that if one generation is not working, others can be used. So very good. It is the same point. Uh, Nidhi, your point is also correct, that the power distribution can be managed in interconnected power system. And finally, this all are, I am happy that I have received different responses from different students, and all are valid at a time. So very good that interconnected power system has number of advantages. So that is why we connect our power system components like various generating stations in an interconnected way via different transmission and distribution system. Like say if I take one simple power system, let's say it may have an interconnection with different parts. For example, okay, like this, different substations can be connected with each other, and this can be different types of generators, renewables, non-renewables, like steam, hydro, nuclear, okay, thermal, that is steam based, or maybe solar, wind, anything. And this represents different substations. Okay, understand the terminology. This bus bar that I'm showing, they are the substations. These are the transmission lines. These are the generating stations. So that is what is the need of interconnection of the power system. Now, What is disadvantage of interconnection? Can anyone tell me? What are the drawback? So it has a number of advantages. Fine, and that is why we are having an interconnected power system where all the let me tell you, in India we have 5 grids. Okay, operating grids. What is operating grid means? There are some part of the regions, let's say state, Gujarat, Maharashtra, if I say Rajasthan, Goa, these states are interconnected with each other, means they share the transmission line between them. There will be a transmission line between Gujarat and Maharashtra. Let's say we have a line between let's say Vadodara and Dhule. Okay, a 400 kV line. Likewise, we have a transmission line that starts from Baroda to Indore, which is in MP. So this is the interconnection of different power system regions between the two. And then if we say, so there are total 5 grids, and these 5 grids are interconnected with each other, and it will form a one grid, which is a one nation one grid. We call it in power system, interconnected power system, which is monitored by different load dispatch centers. So what are the problems? So here we have a few problems. Naresh, one of the problem is synchronizing. Very good. Synchronizing, the maintaining the synchronizing of different generators at different power system is one of the problem, because if there is any disturbance in the power system, this disturbance will be propagated in all over power system, because it is an interconnected. It is just like as an infection. Suppose if we have an infection in any of the body part, let's say in your finger, in your hand, in your leg, and if it is not being cured properly, there is a risk that the infection can go to the other parts or organs of the body, and it can infect all over the body part. Just like is an interconnected power system, if we have a fault or any major disturbance, that can propagate to different part of the power system, and the loss of synchronism can happen. Okay, so maintaining the constant frequency and voltage is a drawback. Correct, Viral? The same thing. Risk of cascade tripping and Apurva, that is very good, Apurva. Correct your answer. That if the fault is not detected properly, and if not being cleared properly in time, it can result into cascade tripping. Uh, High cost, Jatin, probably high cost will not. We can considered as a disadvantage, because if it is an interconnected, we can go with the economic operation of the power system. Okay, by uh, generating by properly scheduling the generating of various generators, and transmission corridors, operation of the transmission corridors, metering. Okay, uh, synchronization problem. Okay, maintenance of frequency. Okay, maintenance of frequency is correct. Expensive circuit breakers. The circuit breakers are see the cost, you will see uh, will not be a major part when we say in interconnected power system, because that will be overcome by the advantages of interconnection of the power system. Yeah, probably. Fine. So, and the points leads to this common disadvantages, that is synchronization. Problem is the synchronization, and risk of blackout. Okay, so here comes the role of protection engineer. We must design protective system. We will see later on that we can minimize the risk of synchronism, and risk of blackout in the event when the fault occurs. Okay, and that is why the design of protective system is very challenging, because you are designing it for an interconnected power system where you have number of generators, transformers, lines, loads which are interconnected with each other, and then you have to uh, design protective scheme that is too also different for different parts of the system. Same scheme you cannot be used for generator or transmission line or bus bar or let's say transformer or motor. Okay, so that is why it is a very challenging task to design a protective system for an interconnected power system. Okay, yes, Memdan, you are correct. It will be, it may be the industrial process or protocol that follow, but right now in this subject we will start with the very basic protective scheme and the fundamentals of the protective scheme. Okay, which is absolutely necessary for designing of any protective scheme. Right? Now, this is the single line diagram of a power system. It may have different voltages level, but basically the idea of a power system is like this. We generate generally the power at any generating station depending upon the nature of generating station in between 11 to 22 kV. Can anyone tell me why generation level is generally kept between 11 to 22 kV? Why do we have designed the generators that have the power rating may be anything? Okay, it may have 100 MVA, 500 MVA, 50 MVA, it depending upon the requirement. Why do we generate power with a generator rating in the range of generally 11 to 22 kV? Okay, I need the reason. Bhavesh, probably this is not correct answer. No, Vatsal. Okay, Bhavesh. Okay, Mahimdan. Can you tell me more about that? How it is most economical? The reason is that this will give us economical operation. That is correct. Fine. That if we generate the power with generating generator voltage rating in the range of 11 to 22 kV, it will be the most economical generation. Okay. Fine. Anyone else have any reason? I hope you have studied this. Have you studied this point? That why do we keep our generator rating in the voltage rating in the range of 11 to 22 kV? Any theory? Can you remember that relates you to this question? Any theory back from power system 1 or power system 2 you can recall? Any theory that will give you the most economical choice for voltage rating of generator, that relates you to the cross sectional area of the conductor, insulation requirement, and the size of the machine and everything, all this factor that is taken into account? I think you might have studied in power system 1. Okay, fine, no worry. So why do we have a generator rating in the range of 11 to 22 kV? Because that is the most economical operation of the generator when we select the range in 11 to 22 kV, because that will give us because just a moment, uh, uh, is it audible now? Is it audible now? Okay, fine. Because that will give us the most economical, that will give us the balance between the size of conductor and cost of conductor cross sectional area. Then we know that we require insulation around the conductor, so the cost of the insulation, and ultimately the size of the machine generator. So considering all this factor into account when we design the generator with a voltage rating of 11 to 22 kV, that will be the most economical cost of the generator we will have. Okay, but then we need to step it up further, depending upon further maybe 400 kV, 220 kV, or probably 132 kV, any of this voltage rating, then it is being we need to step it up. So can anyone tell me why do we step up voltage here at generating station? Why do we step up voltage at generating station? All the generating station will have a substation where whatever power that you generate, that is being stepped up for further transmission. So it is called as a GT, generator transformer. What is the reason why we need to step up the voltage for further transmission? Okay, Apur, okay, Viral, okay, Mahimdan, correct. But let me tell you, this is not the primary reason. Primary reason is different. It is one of the advantage that we will get. Okay, Bhavesh, Naresh, Nidhi, Mahimdan, all answers are same. But let me tell you, that is not the primary reason that we step up. Okay, Vatsal, correct. This is one of the advantage, but let me explain you. And you remember now onwards that what is the primary reason. Suppose here we have a generation. So this generator has a 11 kV. See, it is a line rating. Okay, line values. Remember when we are discussing, it is a single line diagram of a three-phase system. It is a single line diagram of a three-phase system. So when we say 11 kV, it is a line to line voltage. First of all, remember that whenever in three-phase system, when we define the rating, it is representing a line to line voltage. Okay, so anybody remember the power transfer equation between the line? I hope you have studied this in interconnected power system. Suppose if we have a line here and it has a transfer reactance of value X, what will be the active power transferred over this line? Are you aware with this equation? What will be the power transferred between these two substations? Let's say substation A and substation B. If substation has a sending end voltage Vs, receiving end voltage is Vr, and delta is the load angle. So what, and the net transfer reactance of this line is X. So what will be the power transfer? Vs, Vr upon X sine delta. It is not a difference, it is Vs into Vr. Okay, Vs into Vr. Now, what is time? Just I'll take 1 or 2 minutes. Okay, for if I say it is a 400 kV line, understand this is clearly. What will be the sending end voltage? considering that voltage regulation is less than 5%. What it means? The difference between sending and receiving end voltage will be less than even 5% of the rating. What will be the voltage here? It will be 400 kV at an angle delta. Let's say here it is 400 kV at an angle 0. Voltage regulation is less than 5%, so not much deviation. Let's say 410 volt. Okay, kV. Here it is 400 kV. For example, I'm taking any value. So what is power? Power is the square of the proportion of the voltage rating of the line. Power that can be transmitted over the line is in the square proportion of the voltage rating of this line. It is a 400 kV line. Now see, what is difference if this line is, let's say, 11 kV or this line is 220 kV. What will happen to the power transfer capacity of the line as the voltage rating increases? Yes, as the voltage rating increases, what will happen to power transfer capacity of the line? In megawatt or kilowatt, whatever, it will increase in square proportion. So now you can think, what is power line transfer capacity of a 11 kV line, then 33 kV line, then 66 kV line, then if it is 400 kV line, you can see it can transfer huge amount of power. And highest level in India right now is 765 kV. And there are testing phase is going on for a 1200 kV line. Single line of it is a 3-phase line, but of 1200 kV, you can imagine what huge power transfer capacity it will have in future. And that is why we are always interested in to upgrade the transmission voltage. Recent, we have a existing 765 kV line, so you can imagine that it can deliver how much megawatt at a time. Okay, so this is the primary reason for stepping up the voltage here. That, let's say we have a substation at Mundra. Okay, do you know Mundra in Kutch? Adani power plant. Now this power we want to transmit to, let's say, Hadara substation. Hadara substation, do you know where is Hadara? Just nearby to our university, few kilometers from here. Hadara substation on Morbi highway. So this two distance is about 250 kilometer, more than 250 kilometer, I guess. And from here, Adani power plant, we want to transmit power to Hadara substation, and that is further transmitted to, let's say, Jetpur substation, 400 kV. Here we have a Hadara 400 kV substation. So here we have a 400 kV substation at Mundra. So you can see this power is to be transmitted over a long distance, and that is why we step up this power so that it has to be transmitted over a long distance. And suppose if we have a 100 megawatt power that we want to transmit, suppose if we transmit at 400 kV, and suppose we transmit it at, let's say, 11 kV, for example, just we remove the GT and we transmit at the 11 kV, what will be the cross sectional area of the conductor required? Do you understand the point? For the same amount of the power, suppose 100 megawatt power, 100 megawatt, if we transmit at 400 kV and if we transmit at 11 kV, understand the problem. If I remove the GT, we need not to step up the voltage. Can you imagine the current carrying capacity of the conductor? So I hope now you understand the point that if we increase the voltage, the current to transmit the same power will be quite lower. And hence the transmission, it is 250-kilometer long line, understand. So the current density of the conductor and current carrying capacity of the conductor and cross-sectional area of the transmission line conductor will greatly reduce over here. And power transfer capacity further is square proportion. So this line will have a very high power transfer capacity. So more on this I will discuss in the next class because the time is uh, over, I think. And I will continue the session in the next class, the same session. All of you are requested to enter your enrollment number in the chat box and do not leave the class until I instruct. Please wait here. It seems that Pradeep, Rajesh and Ravi, you are again informed to set your username with roll number, enrollment number and name. All others have done it. Any questions, query from your end? Now all those who have entered the number can leave the class and you are requested to join the other class. Okay, thank you everyone. We'll continue the discussion in the next class. With this, I will end my session. Thank you. Have a good day.